Good evening. I'm Megan Matucci, and for my action research project, I decided to research on different ways to obtain and raise money for technology in the classroom. So let's get started. With finding money for technology in the classroom, obviously my first place that I looked was online, and some really helpful websites that I found are the first was donorschoose.org. You say what you need, whether it's money for this or money for that or an actual item. And large corporations, community members, and anyone who's on the site is able to decide whether they want to donate monetary value, money, or the item that you're asking for. For Pledge Sense, it's a lot like Donors Choose, just a different company, a little smaller and not as popular. But on the other side of that, there's Kickstarter, and I thought it was pretty cool because it kind of gives more emphasis into putting hard work into something that you want for your classroom. And so as the teacher, you develop a video promoting your project or promoting what you're doing, and then people have the choice to donate money. You also set a goal of how much money you want to raise by a certain time. The only downfall to Kickstarter is if you do not raise that money in the time that you allot yourself, then the money that you have raised, you do not receive. On the opposite end of that is Rocket Hub, and it's pretty much the same kind of program, same idea, but if you don't meet your goal by that deadline, you still receive the money that you have raised, with a few other exceptions to make that happen. And then also there's digitalwish.com, and so you enter a lesson, you say materials that you need, and then people have the choice to donate the money towards that or donate that item. And it also, that's basically just for raising funds for your classroom. The next choice is grants. And they're a lot of work, but in the end, they're worth it. A few that I found was the North Clackamas Education Foundation. And I really researched that one because it was the first one that I found in an article that they mentioned. And they have donated around $15,000 a year to around 21 different schools. So it's not a whole lot of money, but it's something that gets you to where you need and starts you on your goal to whatever you want technology-wise in your classroom. Other large companies that have grants specifically for technology, Hewlett-Packard, Corning Incorporated Foundation. You can look up technology at grants.gov. GrantsWatch, Dollar General has a specific grant for literacy, but there's actually one specifically for technology that it's going to improve literacy. And then there's a newer one through Best Buy, and it's called Teach at 15. And it's kind of getting going, but it's a great program. You just got to look it up. And they have tons of information. And then again, Digital Wish. But Digital Wish is pretty cool because you apply once and it puts you into 50 different grants and applies you for all those grants. And it's pretty nifty to see, what you qualify for and what you don't. And you never know what's going to happen. So might as well fill out that application that will enter you into those grants. When researching grants for technology, I came across some really important key points that you should take into consideration when writing grants for technology specifically. The first is that you always want to include a daily schedule of what kind of activities you're going to be using with your technology that you want for your classroom. And how is that going to benefit not only your students, but the entire student body as a whole? So if I have a school of 500 and my class or my program is of 150, how am I going to make sure that those other students outside of that 150 are benefiting from this technology in my classroom? Along with that, to validate that is, what activities are you going to be doing? Are you going to have them use Chromebooks and use Google Classroom and collaborate on documents and on projects together? Will you have them use something like Newsela and have them read an article and then take the quiz that goes along with that article? Will you have them be taking quizzes and tests online? And, what other things are you going to be using? What kind of activities are you going to be using this type of technology for? What about apps? If you want iPads for your classroom, what applications are you going to be using that are going to benefit the content and benefit the students in learning that content? And then also putting in your daily schedule what standards are going to align with the technology with your content. 2 is assessments. How are you going to assess the technology in the classroom? How well is it working? Do you have a better understanding of or your students have a better understanding of the content because of technology, etc. Collaboration. How are you going to collaborate with the other teachers on campus with this technology, and how are you going to use it to benefit all teachers on campus? And 4th, project evaluation. So you have this project, you want, a set of Chromebooks, 30 Chromebooks. How are you going to evaluate their purpose? How are you going to say that this benefited my students and it benefited my school to have these 30 Chromebooks in my classroom? So these are just some things to think about when writing a grant specifically for technology. To kind of wrap this all up, there's some additional things that I found, and I thought they were pretty cool, that don't include websites where you're raising money, or grants where you're applying for money. But there's Funding Factory, and so the school collects old technology, and then you can turn that in, and that money is specifically, you say, hey, I want a Mac computer, and it's going to cost $1,200 for this classroom. You collect money, you raise $1,200, they send you a Mac computer. That was my understanding. There's also lots of contests. Google contests for technology in the classroom, and you'll get so much stuff, and there's some pretty fun ones. A lot of them have to do with your students or you making a video and then just submitting that video and seeing if you get $500. And there's also this really cool thing I found, and it's put on by a parent in San Francisco, and it's called a tech search party, and it's basically a scavenger hunt. And so teams sign up, they pay $50 to $75 depending on how many team members. The people who are putting on this fundraiser, they get sponsorships from local businesses and also from larger corporations. If those people aren't able to donate money towards this program, then they can also donate items, which will be used for prizes for the top 3 teams who come in and place. But it's pretty cool. You get a clue, and it takes you to some business around town, and then as a team, you have to make sure you take a picture of the certificate that says that is where you're supposed to be on that business, and then you email that picture using a specific email set up for the search party. And there's judges on the other side who are keeping track of where you've been. And the first person to send in the last picture or all their clues, they get first place, and then so on and so forth. And he started with his first year raising $15,000, and now he's raised $50,000 last year. And this is his 6th year doing it. And I know in a smaller community like we're from, they may not be as obtainable. I mean, $50,000 is a lot of money, but even raising $5,000 would help towards technology in the classroom. And lastly, you have to have the support of your principal, because if my CT didn't have the support of her principal, she would have never gotten AirPlay or Apple TV or her iPad that she uses as a dock camera, or now we have a $2,000 Chrome card that's filled with 35 Chromebooks. And the students now, they have their one-to-one in our classroom, and they're able to do tons of cool projects with Google Classroom, with Google Slides, Google Docs, lots of different things on those Google Chromebooks. And so without that support of her principal, she would have never been to this point. Well, I hope that this information was valuable to you and useful, and you'll be able to use it in your future classroom. If you'd like, you can copy down this shortened link, and it will take you right to this PowerPoint, and also give you access to the resources that I use for both this PowerPoint and then also for my action research. Enjoy and have a great rest of your night.